All right, welcome. In today's excellent adventure, what we're going to be doing is looking at two functions in SQL, the sum function and the average function. Now, when we look at these, we're going to look at how they work typically. We're going to look at how they work with group by, but then we're also going to use them as analytical functions with partition by, and that's really cool. So let's start at the very beginning. Let's just look at this table, the employee table. You notice I have things spaced a little. That's on purpose. It'll be obvious when we get going. Okay, so we've got our typical employee table. We've got the employee, we've got the department, we've got the salary. Nothing's in any kind of order right now. It's just this is sort of the order that I added the stuff in. No big deal. It's just a fake table. Now you see in this next one, what I did is the from clause is still lined up. So I just wanted to, like, as we go on, there's method to my madness with the spacing. All I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you what happens if I ask for the sum of all the salaries in the table. You see they're reaching like the low thousands, the high thousands. So this is going to be a pretty big number when we do this. All right. So it's like the total sum is 6,515,000. How would you like to write that check every year? I wouldn't. Now, average is going to be a little interesting when we do this. It's basically the same exact code. We're selecting the average from the salary field from this table. There's no where clause. We're not filtering anything, so it's the average on everything. And when we do that, here we go. So look, here's the difference, okay? That's 6.5 million. That's 171,000. So if we actually divided this number by this number, it would give us exactly how many employees there were. Big deal. But look at how this is nice and it ends in .00. But this is irrational and it goes out 6 digits. How can we clean that up a little bit? This is beyond the scope of this video, really, but just because I'm a purist. What we want to do is we want to cast the average of the salary. We want to cast it as a decimal, 10, 2. That means there's 10 total spaces, before or after the decimal, but only up to 2 after the decimal. So if we do that, here's the difference. We're just taking this and we're making it a little more pleasing to the eye. Instead of 3.68 blah, 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 it's 3.7. It just kind of rounds it for you. Okay, so there's that. Probably haven't shown you anything that's really, too hard to understand. But now, watch, we're just going to do them together. Just put them in the same set. Okay, so we've got the sum of the salary, the average of the salary. Great. That's how these things work on their own. But that's not really helpful. Okay, I know the average of everybody in the company. So what? I can't do anything with that. I know the total of everyone in the company. Okay, but people get raises all the time. That's still not really useful. Check this out. What we're going to do next is a group by. I'm going to select the sum of the salary, but I'm also selecting the department. But I'm also going to group by the department. Watch what this does. This is very different. Group by is pretty cool, and they may or may not ask you this on an interview, but anyway. Here we go. See, what this does is it takes every department and gives it one record, and then it takes the sum of just that department. And then what we did is we're ordering the records that are coming back. We're ordering it by the second column descending. See? Order by, the second, biggity. That's swearing in another language. No, it isn't. The second column descending. So basically, it's ordered by this in reverse. So the sales department makes the most money. Software makes the second most. Yay! Software makes even more than the legal department. You see why you want to be in software? Okay. All right. And you don't want to be in sales for one simple reason. It's sales. Okay. Moving along. The group by is good, but the problem with group by is you can only, if we're grouping by the department, then we can't really show other fields. And so you may like that, you may not like that. But the problem is You may want to see more information. Let me show you what you can do with what are called analytical functions, and these are pretty cool. What we're going to do is the same exact we're going to select the employee, the department, and the salary, okay, which is pretty much what we did right up here. We're going to just do this for starters, okay? But then we're going to add a couple of fields, and this is where it gets really interesting. And this is where you want to pay attention, because if you haven't ever seen this, first of all, the code on the screen right now is going to look a little strange. I understand that. It did to me too. Because, what does over mean? What does partition by mean? I know what order by means, but, what is all this other stuff? Well, anyway, this is going to take the sum of the salary, right? But then you see this word over. What does that do? Well, over is going to help us make sort of like a window. Well, it's not really a window until we use partition by. What it's going to do is it's going to show all of these fields, but then after it, it's going to it's going to granularize the sum of the salary by department, and it's going to granularize the average of the salary partitioned by the department. And it's pretty cool. So let me just run this, and then I'll show you what's on the screen, and then maybe you can kind of figure it out, all right? So what we're doing here is, you notice that the first thing it takes is everybody from advertising. These are all the salaries, okay? So it's taking all the salaries, and notice the salaries are not in order. See, the reason why is we said order by employee. Order by employee. So what's happening is, for advertising, it's ordering by the person's name. Dina Bobina, Ida Arida, Jeannie McMeany, Jeannie McSweeney. By the way, advertising, they always hire women. I know, it's sexist, but it's probably smart. Guys are terrible at advertising. Good at sales, terrible at advertising. How do I know? I used to have an advertising business. I don't anymore. Get the picture? Okay. Now, I was also in sales. Wasn't good at that either. Okay. As we come over here, notice what happens. On the first record, we have 18,000 for the salary. Now, the sum for the first salary is 18,000, and, well, the average is going to be 18,000. But when we get to the second record, okay, now we have 32,000. But look what happens to the sum. The sum is a running total. It keeps taking the total as it goes. So what's the total of 18,000 and 32,000? It's 50,000. What's the total of 18,000, 32,000, and 27,000? It's 77,000. What's the total of these four things? It's this. But then, when we start over with cafeteria, the meter starts over, the odometer starts over. This makes another window. Get it? That's why it's a window function. Think of a window is usually a rectangular item, a small rectangular area in a big rectangular building. I know windows and buildings don't have to be rectangular, but you know what I mean. That's where it comes from. Okay. So now here, the first record in cafeteria is 31,000, so the sum is 31,000. What's the sum of these two numbers put together? 54,000. What's the sum of these three? 82. What's the sum of these four? 128. Why is that important? Well, you may have something at work that you can apply this to. You may not now, but wait, you will at some point. But here's the thing. You have to know this on an interview. Why? Because they're going to ask, or they could ask. You got to know how to do this. Now, the average, the same thing is true. What's the average of 18,000? Duh, 18,000. What's the average of 18 and 32? Well, it totals 50, and there's two of them, so it's 25. After this, it's 77. What's 77 divided by 3? 25 and 2/3. What's 109 really divided by 4, or the average of all this stuff? Well, it's 27,250. You get the point. And then with cafeteria, it starts over. What's the average of 31? 31. What's the sum of these two? 54. What's the average of that or half of that? 27. So basically, for sum, it's a running total per department. Running total per department. Running average, not as useful in real life, but per department. Running average per department. And there you go. You may not use the running average like that usually, but you're going to usually use the average in a little more like down to earth kind of way, but you have to know how to do it and you have to be able to demonstrate that you can do it. So that's how that works. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you love this video, please subscribe. And if you really want to be my best friend, help me wash my car this weekend. Just kidding. It's going to rain. It's actually raining right now. My car is not clean yet. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta.